In today's video, I want to talk about how to know if your autistic spouse can change, can't change, or won't change. Have you ever found yourself asking one of the hardest questions in a neurodiverse marriage? Are they really trying? Or maybe you've wondered, if they left me, wouldn't they change? Or perhaps you've gone the opposite direction. You know what? Maybe autism means they simply can't change and I have to accept everything forever. Okay, most neurotypical spouses bounce between these two painful extremes. One day they're full of hope. The next day they're convinced nothing will ever improve. Now today, I want to offer you something much more useful than hope or despair. I want to give you clarity, because not every problem in an autistic marriage comes from the same source. Some behaviors can change. Some behaviors probably never will. And some behaviors could change, but the person has decided not to. And learning to tell the difference may be one of the most important relationship skills you'll ever develop. So let's talk about how. First of all, let's talk about the biggest mistake most NT spouses make. This is one of the greatest sources of suffering, and that is assuming every disappointing behavior has the same explanation. For example, your spouse forgets your birthday, or they interrupt you repeatedly, or they never ask how your day went, or they avoid conflict, they refuse counseling, they spend 12 hours on a hobby. Now, these behaviors may look similar from the outside, but they can come from completely different causes. Think of it like a car that won't start. Maybe it's out of gas. Maybe the battery's dead. Maybe the driver simply refuses to turn the key. The car is not moving in all three situations there, but the solution is completely different. The same is true in neurodiverse relationships. Now let's look at the first category. They are capable of change. I want to begin with the most hopeful category here. There are behaviors your ASD spouse can learn with education, motivation, practice, and repetition. Notice something important here. Autism affects learning, but it does not eliminate learning. The autistic brain is remarkably capable of growth. And research on neuroplasticity tells us that brains continue changing throughout life, even if it's an ASD level 1 brain. Adults on the spectrum learn new emotional skills all the time. They become better communicators, better listeners, better parents, better spouses. But there are clues that tell you this growth is actually happening. Here's clue number 1, that they are capable of change. They admit there is a problem. I know that sounds obvious, but it's huge. If your ASD spouse says, I know this hurts you, or I don't understand it yet, but I believe you, or I can see why this matters, this is incredibly encouraging. They may not know what to do, but they're no longer arguing with reality. Here's sign number 2, that they are capable. They become curious. Curiosity predicts growth. Defensiveness predicts stagnation. Do they ask questions? For example, what did that feel like? Or what would have helped you in that situation? Or what should I do differently in the future? Curiosity means their brain is opening. Here's sign number 3, that they are capable. They practice between conversations. Real change doesn't happen during emotional conversations. It happens afterward. Do they read books? Do they watch educational videos? Do they practice scripts? Take notes, ask for reminders. Growth usually happens between conflicts. Sign number 4, that they are capable of change. Progress is slow but real. Neurotypical spouses often dismiss improvement because it isn't fast enough. Suppose your spouse used to explode every week. Now it's once a month. That's improvement. Suppose they previously shut down for 3 days. Now they recover in 6 hours. That's improvement. Change often looks microscopic before it looks dramatic. Sign number 5, that they are capable of change. They recover faster. Nobody gets everything right. What matters is repair. Do they apologize sooner? Do they reconnect sooner? Do they accept feedback with less resistance? Recovery time often predicts long-term success better than perfection. Here's an example. Imagine your ASD spouse repeatedly forgets to check in with you emotionally. After several discussions, they begin setting reminders on their phone. They still forget sometimes, but they're trying. They're reading, they're asking questions, they're apologizing, they're improving. That person is capable of change, not perfection, but he or she is growing, and those are very different things. Now let's look at category 2. They are incapable of change. We're going to discuss the hardest category now. There are some things ASD genuinely limits. Accepting these limits is painful. But confusing limitations with stubbornness creates even more suffering. So let's be careful here. Incapable does not mean completely impossible. It means the cost of performing the behavior is so high, or the neurological barrier is so significant, that expecting consistent success is unrealistic. Now, here's some examples. There's going to be some sensory limits. Your ASD spouse may never enjoy loud parties. They may never tolerate crowded shopping malls. They may never enjoy surprise vacations. They may never become highly social. This isn't unwillingness. It's neurology. There's going to be some processing speed differences. During conflict, they may need much longer to think. They may freeze. They may need silence. They may need time before responding. Pressuring them to answer immediately will make things worse. There's going to be facial expression differences. Some autistic adults naturally display very little facial emotion. Inside, they love deeply. Outside, they may appear flat. Years of coaching may improve awareness, but expecting natural expressive body language is not going to be realistic. There's going to be intuitive mind reading issues. Many autistic adults never develop automatic emotional intuition. They can absolutely learn empathy. They can absolutely become compassionate, but spontaneous emotional prediction remains very difficult. They frequently need information stated directly. There's going to be a social energy problem. Some people recharge through people. Others recharge through solitude. An autistic nervous system often requires significantly more recovery time. Now, that doesn't automatically mean they don't love you. It means their battery works differently. Here's an example. Imagine an autistic husband who genuinely wants to attend family gatherings. Every holiday leaves him exhausted for 2 days. He becomes overwhelmed by noise. He develops headaches. Eventually, they compromise. They attend for 2 hours instead of 6. Okay, well, that isn't a failure. That's accommodation. Now we're going to look at category 3. They are simply unwilling to change. This category is the most misunderstood. Many neurotypical spouses assume every difficult behavior is autism. It is not. Sometimes the issue isn't neurological, it's motivational. Autism explains many struggles. It does not excuse refusing to grow. So how can you, as the NT wife, tell the difference? Okay, here's sign number 1 that they're simply unwilling to change. They reject every resource. Books? Nope. Videos? No. Counseling? Hell no. Coaching? Nope. Support groups? Forget it. Reading articles? I don't think so. Trying one experiment? No. When every doorway towards improvement is closed, the problem is not ability anymore. It's unwillingness. Sign number 2 that they're simply unwilling to change. Everything is always your fault. If every conflict ends with, well, you're too emotional, or you're impossible, or you expect too much, or you caused this, or it doesn't matter what I say or do, I'll never meet your expectations, you're too difficult. Okay, there's no ownership there. Without ownership, change has nowhere to begin. Sign number 3, that they're simply unwilling to change. No consistent effort. Words are easy. Patterns matter. Do they consistently practice or only promise that they'll practice? Promises without effort eventually become manipulation, even if unintended. Sign number 4, that they're unwilling to change. They benefit from staying the same. This one is uncomfortable. Sometimes people don't change because the current system works for them. As the NT spouse, you keep adjusting, you keep apologizing, you keep lowering your expectations, you keep carrying the relationship load. Why would anyone feel urgency to change if nothing requires it? My good old NT spouse will take care of it. Sign number 5, that they're unwilling to change. They mock your pain. This is one of the clearest warning signs. If your tears become jokes, and your loneliness becomes criticism, and your needs become inconvenient, the issue is no longer autism. The issue is they don't have any damn respect for you. Here's an example. Imagine an autistic spouse who has heard the same concern for 10, 20 years. Every conversation ends with, well, that's just autism. There's no learning, there's no effort, no curiosity, no repair, no accountability. At some point, the question is no longer, can they? The question becomes, do they intend to? Those are very different questions. Now, whenever you're confused about whether they're capable, incapable, or just not willing, ask yourself these 3 questions. Question number 1, do they understand the problem? If no, start with education. Question number 2, do they have the neurological ability to improve this skill? If no, move toward accommodation instead of expectation. Question number 3, are they consistently trying? If yes, encourage the progress. If no, the obstacle is unwillingness, not ASD. Now, I want you to be careful about one thing here. Please resist the temptation to diagnose your spouse into one category forever. People move around, okay? Someone unwilling today may become willing after a health scare. Someone incapable in one area may surprise you in another. Someone capable may temporarily lose capacity during burnout, depression, anxiety, grief, or severe stress. This isn't about labeling people, it's about understanding the obstacle in front of you today. Now, here's the bottom line. You don't need perfection. You need direction. A spouse who is capable of change doesn't improve overnight, but you can see movement. A spouse who is incapable of certain changes can still build a loving marriage by finding different ways to meet important needs. And a spouse who is unwilling to change leaves you carrying the entire relationship by yourself. Knowing which situation you're actually living in changes everything. It changes your expectations, it changes your decisions, it changes your hope, and perhaps most importantly, it helps you stop blaming yourself for problems that were never yours to solve. Now, if today's conversation resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Which category has been the hardest for you to recognize, and what helped you finally see it? Your story may be exactly what another spouse needs to hear today. Until next time, remember this: healthy relationships aren't built on perfect people. They're built on two people who are willing to keep growing. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow in a new video. Would you like to schedule a paid private coaching session? This will be in the form of a face-to-face Zoom call. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this Calendly link. If you click on that link, it'll open up my calendar. You can pick the available days and times that works for your schedule. You'll get a follow-up email immediately after purchasing a session that will have the Zoom link that coincides with the day and time that you picked. I will get an email too that you scheduled a session, and I will be available on that exact day and time, and we will talk. I look forward to working with you. Hey guys, this is Mark. Some of you may not know that I have a lot of books on Amazon. So if you like my videos, you'll like my books. I have several for ASD spouses, for NT spouses, and for the neurodiverse couple. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this link. Feel free to click on that link and see what's available. I'm sure you'll find something that applies to you. So if you're struggling in your neurodiverse marriage, help is available, one click away.